Hey, this Amulet from Differences Skill, and it has been quite a while since I made a video, and I'm kind of sorry for that because, well, I'll admit I'm not very busy, but I'm kind of been partying hard, so yeah. So I kind of forgot to do, like, everything. Okay, anyway, this is kind of an old deck profile, but, like, I want to show it off anyway, because I didn't have time during the exam periods to do this. So I'll talk about my Labrador deck profile now. So first, I think I'll go backwards with this. Let's start with grade 3s. So first of all, I run 4 Labradors. And if people who aren't really updated or doesn't know what this does, so she's a limit break 4. And her first ability is when this card attacks, I can play 3 Prism cards from my hand, and she'll gain 10k in a critical. So this is actually a very very strong ability, and it's actually what's making Bermuda Triangle kind of being an A tier to a top tier, or maybe low S tier deck now. But yeah, because of the 10k in the critical, it puts a lot of pressure on your opponents. The second ability is I can pay 1 cost to return a Prism card from the field back into my hand. So basically what this does is it's just helping you like do all the... It's just helping you meet the first condition a bit easier, because like you have to play 3 cards from your hand down in the field when you attack to actually activate her 10k critical effect. So by bouncing cards back in your hand, it just makes it easier, and you have to use a Prism card for a cost, so it's like a special counter blast thing now. And her last ability is just lowered, so if you try and mix clans, it doesn't work. Alright. The next card is 4 Prism Idol Vert. And I'm just running 8 grade 3s because honestly I don't really know the reason behind this one. More like just let's try and be a bit more consistent and run 4 of these, because this is actually one of the better break rides, I think, in the game right now. So, like all break rides, she gains 2k when she attacks. Oh, this one actually gains 2k when there's 4 above Bermuda Triangle on the field, just like Flute from the last booster box. But yeah, she gains 2k when she attacks, and basically it becomes 13 base when she attacks. And her break ride ability is when you ride a grade 3 over this, it gives 10k to that Vanguard, so typical. And the second part of the effect is you can choose up to 2 Bermuda. You bounce 2 Bermuda Triangle back in your hand and you draw 1. So basically it breaks even if you bounce half your field back in your hand. And it's a pretty good ability because it kind of helps you with the older Bermuda stuff. You can kind of use Rio and basically get more advantage by doing that. The other ability is it's useful because for Labrador you need to play 3 cards. It just helps you set up the field a bit easier. And obviously, because when you can reorganize your field, it's usually a pretty good advantage. Especially some of the Bermuda Triangle effects have on-play effects when they come out. So this is actually a pretty good break ride for this clan. So moving on to grade 2s. I played 3 Prism Celtic. And what this does is, when she's returned back in your hand, so when some effect triggers that bounces this card back in your hand, you can Soul Blast 1 and add 4k to one of your Bermuda Triangle units. So one of the more gimmicky parts about this, or one of the special gimmicks about this deck now is, well, Bermuda Triangle has always been balanced, but now they actually made balance effects that are better instead of just +1. And you'll run out of cost because you can't really use before it's usually hard to like pull off the effects, but now it's a bit easier to use your balance gimmicks. So anyway, you can plus 4k 200 units, which is good because it's easy to basically fix numbers and basically push numbers to the next magic number. So like it's easy to build 21 columns and above now, and it's actually easy to build 23 as well. Well, slightly more difficult than 21, but not that hard in general. The next grade 2 I play is for Prism Lumeria, I think. Lugared. Anyway, she's just a 10k beat stick that has the Prism name in it, which is basically, well, 10k beat sticks are always just kind of natural when you're done, like, they've always been good and it helps you defend better and everything, but I remember for these and the Prisms, which is good because in this deck, you need to have a lot of Prisms because your counter blast for Labrador depends on Prism units. So basically just play Prism, as much Prisms as you can. The next 4 I play is, I don't even know what they call this. They call it, oh, this is Prism Romance Lumiere. Yeah, anyway. So these are one of the newer units in the new sets now. So basically they have, it's all generic. So when you have a Prism Vanguard, you gain 3k when you attack, so it's a 12k beater, and that's just very good because it helps you hit good numbers such as 18 and so on. And especially with the counter blast plus 4 reading, it's like 16 base, so you put any like booster behind, especially like 7k, it's actually hitting 23 already. So that's why I said hitting 23 is actually pretty easy in this deck as well. But the main point is that these are just good beat sticks. And because of like the bounce effects, they help generate good numbers a lot easier. So those are great 2s. So the next card I play is for Prism IO Clear. Basically this is the same effect as the grade 2 I showed earlier, the Celtic. When she's bounced from your hand, it allows you to soul blast one and choose one of your units and add 4k to it. And I would say these are more key in this deck because the grade 1s are usually better than grade 2, because the grade 2 can actually, like, if your opponent decides to target it, you can't really do much about it, but a grade 1 tends to be like safer on the back. So whenever you need to pull off like one of these effects, it's just easier to have a grade 1 in the back, and you can just constantly bounce this card back into your hand and try and generate good numbers. So that's why for anyone who plays like this deck, I recommend playing 4 of these for sure, because I've seen a lot of different builds. Like, some people choose not to play this at all and play the card that when your Bermuda Triangle has a limit break 4, it gains 3k, so it's 11k beat stick, and I think people just like it better because like it helps you hit better numbers, and basically even without booster it can hit a Vanguard nowadays with because everything is 11 base, and it happens to be 11k when you have a Vanguard that has limit break 4, which is all your Vanguards right now. So that's a pretty good alternative choice in my opinion, but I just like to have more targets I can use to actually trigger my effects, because I just like that consistency where I have more cards to pull off my effects. So that's my choice, but some people actually don't run the level 2 at all. So my next grade 1 is for these Prism R. Let's see, what do they call this? Oh, Mercury. And basically this is basically the generic grade 1 nowadays. It gains 3k when it attacks when you're Prism Vanguard, which is all the time. There's like really little like especially when your entire grade 2 lineup is Prism and grade 3 is Prism, that basically means you always have a Prism Vanguard unless you're grade stuff. But yeah, and these are just really good because nowadays you can just pull this up and attack and it can still hit a Vanguard because it's hitting for 10k. Especially in the early stages of the game. Even if not, if you run out of attackers, you can pull this up and put a grade 1 behind it, and it's pretty good attack. Alright, so for the next 4, I play 4 Perfect Guards, Alternating Art, which is pretty cool in my opinion, because I like my deck colorfuls, and because the Perfect Guard doesn't have a Prism name in it, it doesn't really matter if I play different art of it. And some people might ask, like, why the hell do they make Perfect Guards? Especially since a lot of the other clients now have perfect guards with their own archetype name in it, but like Bermuda's doesn't. To answer that, I'm probably thinking because Bermuda's is a bounce gimmick, so Bushiroad probably doesn't want you to like allow you to have early rush down with your perfect guards and later on bounce them back in your hand, and then you can use them again. Especially because in this deck, Labrador has the effect of paying 1 and bouncing your cards. It means you're guaranteed to bounce cards back. So if they made this a Prism name, you would always be able to get your perfect cards back. Like in the last set, you could still bounce your perfect cards back and everything, but like the conditions were harder, so people usually don't tend to do that kind of stuff. But yeah, but with Labrador, if these are Prism named, then you would always be able to trigger them, right? So that's 4 perfect cards, and my next, I only play 14 grade ones, so ballsy. Alright, the next one I play is this. Not really sure what it's called, let me check. Oh, Sweet Harmony Mona. Man, I can't speak today. Anyway, she's not a Prism name, but what she does is when she comes out, you pay 1, you counterblast 1, and you can return 1 Bermuda Triangle unit from the field back in your hand. And the reason why I tech this in is because the perfect guards, and in additional to the perfect guards not being a Prism name, there's a critical trigger that's also not a Prism name. So I basically tech this in, so whenever there's a non-Prism name on my damage zone, I can use this to return something from the field back into my hand. So it's just an extra card that can make use of my counter blast if something were to happen to it, like if I got unlucky and got like a non-Prism name in it, which does happen frequently. So this is a good tech. My next tech is this. I don't even know what this is called, but let's call her Boogie Lady. Oh, Mermaid Idol Faluka. Anyway, what she does is, if you guys already know, she soul charges when she comes out, and why I play her is because when you play this card and you play all your grade 1s, like when you play stuff like this, where you need soul blast to fix numbers, you run out of soul pretty fast, especially because this deck doesn't actually soul charge. So basically, it doesn't really need soul charge in this deck because you probably could finish the game by the time you run out of souls to do your effects, but in some cases when you don't have an extra soul, this just helps you let you pull your effect off once more, and it's helpful here and there, but it is not a Prism name, so people do kind of get wary, like what if it goes in damage zone, but that's why this is here, and if this goes in damage zone then GG, but that's just still a harsh one. But these are just my techs. And yeah. Alright, let's move on to triggers. So 4 heal triggers, which is now the best Bermuda heal trigger in the game, I think, and also probably one of the best art of heal triggers in the game, I think. It's cat girls, cats and mermaids. It's actually it looks so much better than the last one. It's actually kind of horrifying. Like that, because I basically switch all my Bermuda Triangle decks into like this heal trigger now, and actually all the Prism triggers are nice. So play 4 of the Prism critical trigger, which also looks very nice, very moe. 4 of the Prism draw trigger, which also looks pretty nice in my opinion. And 4 of the new critical trigger, which I should actually switch to the old critical trigger because I don't really like the cowboy look, but she's not a Prism, so it doesn't really matter what I switch into. But basically I'm running criticals because they're just better in general. I don't want to run stands even though they have Prism names, and honestly, because there's only it's not so big of a deal that these are not Prism names. Like, it's still better than running the stands with the name in it. Like, you'll still be able to pull out your Labrador effects and everything, so it's not such a big deal. But it would be better if these were Prism names, but probably the same reasoning as Perfect Guard. If they allow you to use these early game just to play down as like free boosters, then it will make this deck pretty strong, and they probably know that because stands are just kind of meh, so they just put more Prism names on that. But yeah, Those are the reasoning. I guess you could do if you play like all Prism triggers, you could start playing your triggers down and do some random stuff with it, but that's one of the gimmicks of those decks, is that you could play triggers down and attack with them and bounce them back later, but because there's the problem with just smashing your Prism names, it's probably not really recommended, but it's possible. So for a starter, I played this one. I played Coco. And for anyone that's playing Labrador deck, this is probably the #1 choice starter that you want to play. So her effect is generic, so you pull her back when you ride something on it like every other Vanguard. Her second effect is when something on the field is bounced back to your hand, this automatically, you may put this card back in your hand as well. So basically it becomes a double bounce. But why this is useful is because when you're playing Labrador and you might have something like, let's see, what's a good example? Stupid cards. Alright, so let's say you have this here, and let's just say 3 other cards that I'm not going to put out right now, and you bounce this card out, this card back in your hand. Now let's say you intercepted one of these, so you have 3. You now have 1 slot open. So let's say I'm bad and I play my triggers like this and this. So if you bounce this card back in your hand with one of her counterblast effects, this will automatically go back to your hand, and you conveniently now have 3 slots to work with. So when you attack, you can play 3 cards again and basically activate her 10k plus critical effect. This is pretty essential because if you don't have this card, you will be spending too many costs per turn to basically activate her effect. But with this card on the field, you basically get to activate this more times throughout the game. Which is why I think it's pretty important that you choose this as your starter if you decide to play Prisms or Prism archetypes or whatnot. That's pretty much my Prism deck. Like, any additional comment to say really is that this is a very powerful deck, because if they hit you to Limit Break 4 first and you have a Labrador, you can pretty much corner your opponent into it's basically you trap your opponent into like damage lock. Alright, so I cut off a bit earlier, and so like I was saying, this deck is very good because if you manage to reach Limit Break 4 first, you basically damage lock your opponent forever because you're doing critical 2, so your opponent probably doesn't want to take the chance to just guard it, because if you get a critical, you win the game if they're at 3 damage, right? And because you're preventing them to reach their Limit Break 4, which is kind of important now in this meta, it means they'll never be able to activate the stronger effects. So this is why one of the reasons Bermuda Triangle is actually pretty powerful now. Only reason why they're not really like top tier powerful is just because they don't really have consistency. Like, you can't really there's no really guaranteed way of how you get your cards out and that kind of thing, but that's one of the reasons why they're not good. And the other reason why they're really good is because now you have all the 4Ks, like plus 4K effects. It's easy to get about 21 columns, so whenever you put your opponent at like 4 or 5 damage, it just turns out a lot more guard than usual to like block you and stuff. Especially this card can attack for like a minimum of 26 for 2 every turn. It's just becoming very hard to guard it. Like, your opponent will have to overcommit a lot. Like, even though you can only activate this effect like around 3 times in general, it's just 3 times in general will most likely kill your opponent. So that's why this deck is very good. It's just, it lacks some consistency, but that's fair enough. And of course, once in a while you could screw yourself in like on your damage zone where you don't have enough Prism, but generally it's not that big of a deal. Like, it doesn't harm your gameplay a lot. And that's basically the Labrador deck and my comments about it. But yeah, very powerful deck and very cute and stuff. I'm quite surprised actually how Bushiro managed to make Mermaids actually kind of good now, because typically they kind of suck before, so yeah. But we don't know, everything in this meta is turning out to be pretty powerful and everything, so yeah. Anyway, next up I'll probably show off my Pacifica deck, so yeah. Anyway,
See you guys later.